Well, thank you, Jason. I did not pay him to say such nice things about me, folks. So I appreciate it. I'm so glad we had a chance to meet at SaaStr. So at least you could kind of verify that maybe some of what you said about me is true because we actually met each other. So
Absolutely. Well, over to you.
okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone, and welcome. So while we wait for maybe a few more people to show up, I have a quick icebreaker for you. So tell me in the chat what your favorite cookie flavor is. What's your favorite cookie flavor? My favorite cookie flavor is snickerdoodle chocolate. There are some chocolate chip potato chip ones that I tried. They were kind of amazing. All right, we have quite a few. Okay, a lot of people like oatmeal. I mean, I like oatmeal too, but just that's not usually the one that I see so often. Awesome. Well, as he said, I am Leslie Greenwood, CEO and founder at Chief Evangelist Consulting. I'm also the co-founder of Wednesday Women, an organization that is lifting the profiles of executive women leaders, helping them get more into LinkedIn feeds, speaking stages, panels, and podcasts. So here I am. And thank you, RevGenius, for having me on to talk. I was also the VP of Member Success at Pavilion, so where I was employee number 5. I was with them through the 2,000 to 10,000 member run. So I know a little bit about community. It's mostly from trial by fire. But I'm warning you today, this is going to be audience participation. So if you are multitasking, if you are pretending to listen or about to eat your lunch, then you're going to miss out. So let's get started here and hope that all my screen sharing business works. And thanks for chatting, everyone, because otherwise, since I can't see you, it's very weird. So I help build thriving communities through the lens of focusing on the individual evangelist. That's what I'm super passionate about. That's what I saw happen at Pavilion. People talking about a company because they love them, they love the service, the product, and they've received something beyond expectation. So today we're going to talk about how community can play an integral role in creating evangelists for your company. But first, let's start with a story. Who here has heard of Grove Cookies? Have you seen their LinkedIn posts? Have you gotten some as a gift? If not, you should totally be jealous. But in the chat, tell me yes or no. Yes, you've had some, or no, you have not. There's a reason I'm telling you the story. And then if you participate today in this question, I will be drawing one name to send Grove Cookies to. So if you are in the spot where you're going to be a little disappointed or you're jealous, okay, not yet. No. What are all these no's? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've got lots of people gonna get a chance to win some cookies. Okay, so the reason why I asked this question is because I want to tell you why I love Grove Cookies and why I'm an evangelist for them. You will see these posts all over LinkedIn. No one is paying them to post about Grove Cookies. One of the reasons I love Grove Cookies is because it's woman and veteran owned. That's something important to me. The service is high touch, and of course, the cookies are amazing. So since these posts are all over LinkedIn, or at least all over my LinkedIn feed for sure, can you guess what the outcome is as they've been building their brand? Put in the chat what you think has happened since they've kind of gone viral and they've created this army of evangelists. Sales growth. Incredible growth. Check out this growth as they built the army of evangelists for the brand. I've also overlaid their LinkedIn impressions so you can get a full picture. So give me a thumbs up if anybody else in this room would like to have sales growth look like this with little to no marketing spend. Anyone? Yeah, kind of figured that most of us would. So Grove Cookies serves both B2B and B2C customers. B2C has led the way in community and evangelism for years. These are some of the most respected B2C communities in the space. Sephora's community, if you've been in there, is huge, and it's a huge part of its growth strategy. It has over 6 million members. Log in any time of the day or night, and you're going to see 50,000 plus live fans in their community at any time. And yes, I did check last night just to make sure my numbers were still accurate. But what about B2B community? We heard of course, Notion, HubSpot, Gong. They're great examples and they have amazing communities, but you don't have to be a huge community or huge company to build and create evangelists. And we're starting to see the momentum trickle down to smaller companies right now. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're a big company, I've got ideas for you. If you're a really small company and a startup with very little budget, I also have some ideas for you today. So you will be coming out with some actionable takeaways. So first, let's define an evangelist. Evangelism in B2B is fairly new, and there are a lot of questions on what it means. How they differ from influencers, what are their true value, how do we measure success? And actually, later on, there's going to be a session about influencers, and one of our Wednesday women, Alexis Rivera-Scott, is going to be on that panel, so you should definitely check that out later. So I believe evangelists are the atomic unit in business. They are the individual humans that purchase your solution, product, or service. But they often remain nameless and faceless. We call them prospects. We call them leads, pipeline, customers. And then seriously, folks, don't get me started with MQLs and SQLs and all the other SaaS acronyms that we so love to throw around. Like we're getting further and further with this from the human that's buying your product or service. And that human is the one who will go out and evangelize for you. So, excuse me. So what are they? Let's start with my interpretation of the definition. Individual consumers of your product or service that feel compelled to tell others about your brand, not because they are paid, not that they have an expectation of payment or any professional obligation, but because of their genuine love and satisfaction, with the product or service. So what's the difference? And again, this is going to be my interpretation, and there is, a little contrast. They all have value. We all know influencers are normally paid. Ambassadors oftentimes are compensated through maybe, stock options or other benefits. And then we're seeing more people with evangelists in their title. So what I'm calling the employed evangelist. So think of Ethan Butte, think of Udi from Gong, people that are an employee of the company that go out and are the evangelists for their company. And then what I'm calling the individual evangelist, the everyday human. And they're not paid. That is kind of, for me, the stickler of the definition. And that's where pure word of mouth marketing comes from. So why is it important to cultivate evangelists? So evangelists can be seen as more trustworthy and to be speaking about their passion of the product or service. When I tell you I love Grove cookies, no one's paying me. I love Grove cookies. That's it. That is all that we're talking about. And if you look at influence, this word of mouth marketing is its most basic form. So 91% of B2B buying decisions are influenced by word of mouth. They have a higher lifetime value. They have a higher retention rate. And we all, coming from the CS world, folks, we all want the higher retention rate, especially in these times. But there's going to be some of you out there that during this conversation are going to say, I'm sorry, folks, that's not scalable. Please don't get me started on this. This is where the compounding effect comes in. A referred customer is 4 times more likely to purchase. And then that customer is 4 times more likely to refer others. That, folks, voila, scale. You can disagree with me on that later. We can talk on LinkedIn if you want. So what's next? I hope I've gotten your attention so that we can go into actually some steps, how we are going to create evangelists. For those of you that do not quite have a community yet, don't check out. Do not worry. You're still going to come away with some strategies that you can use in your business with or without a community. So no pre-lunch napping, folks. All right. The first step is identify. We've got to find them. Then if you're in communities, we're going to look at who's talking, who's engaging. We can see the number of messages they post, of course, liking and commenting. This is a Slack instance that I'm a part of Slack data, and all community platforms have some sort of this. In this one, though, what I want to point out is days active. I may have only posted 4 things or 0 things, but I'm active 20 days. So you don't have to be jumping up and down for us to find it. Think about it. If you log in, regularly consume content, you could still be an evangelist. I mean, I don't know about you all, but who has extra time to log into another community for 10 or 15 minutes a week if you're not getting value? So I want you to think a little bit about how do we define engagement and how do we think about how we would find evangelists from the community setting. So identify. Let's say you don't have a community yet. Let's look at your product login data. So if you have Pendo or another thing, so you can see who's logging in, what they're doing, who the users are. We can look at general engagement. We can look at NPS comments, CSAT comments. I'm not interested in the score in this place. If I take the time to write a comment, whether it's positive or negative, I care enough about the brand to give you my words. That's another great place to find your evangelists. And of course, referrals. So if you have a referral program, what does your referral data look like? Who's referring? How do we then identify those folks so that we can go on to the next steps with them? And then identify. Is your referral data hiding somewhere? I'm guessing some of the earlier stage folks out there don't have an official referral program yet. That's okay. Don't worry. You're not alone. Here's some data from an early client. They never looked at their referral data and they didn't have a formal program yet. So they pulled the form field. That's my tip. Have a form field. How did you hear about us? No, don't do a drop down. Leave it open. They can write LinkedIn, but they can also write Derek Weeks. They can write Melissa Moody so that you have that data and you know where some of your customers are coming from. So in this instance, they had 900 customers. 55% of those customers had been referred from another customer. And then 48 total of the customers had made 3 or more referrals. That's 5% of the total customer base making multiple referrals. Those are evangelists in hiding. So finding those folks, people, amazing, gold. And you can do that with or without a community. So if I ask you all, and I'm going to flip over to the other screen so I can see your comments in just a second, how many evangelists for your brand could you name right now? Just give me a comment and tell me how many evangelists could you name? 50. Okay. 3. Okay. Director of customer success. I expect that. Okay. So I'm seeing a little bit more numbers than I'm expecting. Honestly, 3. Great. That's all we need to know. Let's say your number isn't exactly where you want it to be, or let's say that your number is 0. Now that you've named them, thank you, Grayson. Yes, me. You can name more than one, though. Give me a break. Now the next question. When's the last time you talked to one of them? On Zoom, on the phone, or through an individual DM of some sort? Yesterday, this morning, yesterday. I'm feeling like probably the numbers are going to go down. You can name them, but I want to know when the last time you talked to them was. Not enough. Obviously, most of us are like that, folks, because we think it's unscalable. We don't realize the power of the human. Just a quick story, and not to keep going on about Grayson, but like, I'm a small business. I wanted to start buying cookies for people that were on my podcast. Grayson had a one-on-one call with me. He set up a customized landing page for me. He made some other custom things for me. You know, that kind of service, that makes a difference, that phone call. So think about that when you all think about your how you're treating and how you're looking at your evangelists. So now we found them. So let's say we found some, we found a smattering, maybe we found 10, maybe we found 100. That's okay. We need to engage them. So some people didn't tell me when the last time they talked to them was. So let's talk a little bit about that. Many of you are probably in sales or marketing, you're revenue leaders. So or you're in sales, folks. This is just like nurturing a prospect. We are not going to go in with the pitch slap, people. Take a look at this community curve. So this is from David Spinks, a well-respected community expert. Most of us, when we think about our members, our customers, we want them to come and be like here and become a regular member. That's way up the curve. We want them to host an event, become a leader, and attend and post and all this stuff. But that's well up the curve from where they actually start. So, but there are multiple steps before that. And those steps are going to be different for each of you, for each of your companies, for each of your communities. What we need to do is to match their motivation and their enthusiasm to start to build trust and show value in a way that's meaningful for them. And this is where hopefully you know about your personas, you know what motivates your customers, and then we can ask them to move up the curve with us. So, how to engage? So, we need, like I said, we need to understand their persona. Are they more introverted? Are they more extroverted? I'm going to do some generalizing here, so bear with me. And my husband is in finance. I think all he does is play in spreadsheets and make board slides all day. So, I have a little insight here. He thinks I'm crazy because I talk all day. But so, for example, if you're going after a more introverted persona, maybe invite them to early access of a new feature. Ask them to be a beta tester. Tag them in questions to spotlight their expertise. Invite them to an AMA. Thank them in private. If they present more extroverted, and we all present differently, you all probably think I'm an extrovert. I'm totally an introvert. I'm going to go need to take a nap after this. If they present more extroverted or they're further up the commitment curve, invite them to be a guest on your podcast, a webinar, a panel, write a blog post, shout them out publicly in the community or on social media. Those are easy ways to kind of start to engage them. Think about what motivates them to further attach them to your brand. Another way to engage them is swag. Thoughtful gifts are a note. At Pavilion, we sent baby onesies. So if I was scrolling through Slack or roaming the halls of Slack and I saw someone that had just had a baby or just got a new job or had done something extra, we would just send them swag. It wasn't expected. It was funny. I was having a coffee chat with a member that I had talked to probably a couple of years ago, and she mentioned the coffee mug that we had sent her 2 years ago when she had a new baby. I was like, oh yeah, great. Yeah. Totally remember that. Did not remember that. So I went up and looked back in our Slack and there it was. And that's the thing. People remember the small things. So here's my next interaction question. Who has gotten a great gift from a company before? Tell me in the chat what it was. And did it change the way you felt about the brand? So I've gotten 8 million dongles, water bottles, notebooks, pens. It's nice, but it doesn't do it for me. So I'd be interested to hear what you all think and what you've gotten. Oh, wow. Personalized mug with my name, nice jacket I love and wear all the time. I saw somebody write something about Smartsheet having a whole division for this. Yes, this does take a little bit of time. I mean, we were doing it individually. I would ask somebody for their address and I would send it through Printful. There are so many better options out here right now. As long as you have their email, you can send that. A weekend behind the scenes of a music festival. Holy crap. I need to hang out where you hang out and do business with your brands. That's pretty amazing. So awesome. So we can see here from the chat that the thing is thoughtful. Thoughtful gifts matter. All right. So creating a connection. Connection, belonging are core to building community and an integral part of engagement. Psychologically, the positive feelings that your customers have in your community are then associated and attached to your brand. So think about that. If you do have a customer community, they feel great about the service and they love the community. What do you think they think about your company? So, and just for a reference, one of my favorite books that I've read recently is called Belonging to the Brand by Mark Schaefer. It's in Amazon, Belonging to the Brand. I think it's why communities are the last great marketing. Highly recommend it. Get it. If you don't get the slides later, just ping me on LinkedIn and I'll send you a link to it. But it's really a great book and it really talks about a lot of the things that we're talking about today. The last part of this is amplify. So we've found them, we've engaged them, and now we need to amplify them. So here are 6 ways that you can amplify through different types of status or recognition. So create a private space for them. You found a group. Put them in a private space. Give it an impressive name. Make them feel special. It could just be, I don't know, Melissa Moody's Mouseketeers or something like that, but it's some name that is designated for that group of people. You would be surprised at the influence something like that can have. Give them a leadership opportunity within the community where they can model behavior that you want to see for other members. Give them the platform to speak or present, shout outs on social media, and big kicker here, and I see this often. If your customers or members are posting about you, make sure your company comments and likes their post. You want to reward, this is just like children, folks. I have 3 children. You want to reward the behaviors that you want to see. So how do you reward it? You thank them, you interact with them. And then if your community platform does something like badges, amazing. We got badges. And then how do you know if these efforts are paying off? This is a little bit wiggly. It's a little bit like a brand play. But first, we need to understand the beginning metrics and track the impact and effectiveness of our strategy. So first, measure referrals. If you're not tracking yet, start with that open text field that we talked about on your lead capture or sign up form. If you have a program, what's your data look like right now? Let's write it down. And then measure social mentions. So start tracking social mentions and do social listening. It's not as easy as you think. Hint LinkedIn, if LinkedIn ever does this, can I please get a metric about that? Who's talking about you and about what? And then think about how these behaviors were influenced. Was it a webinar? Was it an event? So really kind of analyze that and then go back and do more of it, honestly. So a quick case study. I'm an advisor for Porch. They launched late last year. It's a membership for immigrant entrepreneurs moving or recently moved to Canada. We employ many of the strategies that we've talked about today. And they called it the ambassador program, but they're actually evangelists, according to my definition, launched recently. So they're invested in delivering a service that exceeds expectations. And it's very easy, obviously, to baseline their metrics. They were a big fat zero because they didn't exist. And then after being live for about 8 months, and granted, like I said, it's not as easy. I had to go dig through LinkedIn and their LinkedIn back end and see how many times people had mentioned them in a post. In 30 days, they'd had 51 mentions of their community. It's a fairly small community. So this is an example of what evangelists can do for you. And so let's go low. Each post gets 500 impressions, 51 times 500 is over 25,000 impressions. Personally, folks, I would take that all day long. Someone else giving me impressions that help my business. And then just everything, data is not everything. Everything you're going to track is not just quantitative. You have to look at the qualitative as well. We are talking about humans. Creating evangelists is both an art and a science, and it takes time. The data will not be on a board slide in 30 days. Please, especially also with community, I tell you 18 months. So, let's just go back and think about the referrals. Do you know them? Do you know what about your community product or service that turned them into evangelists? And then honestly, that's a pretty good story for your sales and marketing teams of what you should do more of. So quick question, last question. Who heard about RevGenius through a friend or a colleague? We're going to bring this full circle. Give me a thumbs up or yes or no. Okay. Yes. Okay. I kind of figured, folks. I thought that what might be what you would say. So now imagine how you would feel if you got the same response when I asked this question to your company brand. Anyone interested in that? And on that note, I'm trying to move to the next slide. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. Okay, you'd figure I'd get through all this and I'd bunk it up at the end. So folks, thank you for joining me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me. You can also email me, Leslie@thechiefevangelist.com, or check out our Wednesday Women page on LinkedIn as well. And at this point, we have, I think, a few minutes for questions. I did talk a little bit more than I said I would, Jason. I'm sorry. Oh, good. He's coming back. So I was like, I don't know how to look for the questions.
No, I got you. How in the heck can you say you were worried or nervous about this? Talk about killing it.
Dude, I was so nervous. I felt like I was going to throw up before this.
You did one hell of a job. I think everybody would agree. And I love this topic. I mean, first B2B SaaS company I worked at, by best estimate, about 2/3 of our net new trial starts came from word of mouth. And it's like on one hand, it's like, that's amazing. On the other hand, it's unnerving because it's really hard to like track or control or figure out what in the world's going on there. And you can just as easily blow it as you can nail it on that side. So I'll stop rambling on this part because we've got some good questions in here.
Awesome.
And the one that I liked, that I thought was really, really good, came in first from Eden. Sorry, that's not the one that I thought it was, but we'll go ahead and start with Eden's. How do you handle shouting out or engaging with people that might be at companies that are a little iffy about, public acknowledgement or shout outs on things?
Sure. You talk to them first. Folks, talk to your customers. I mean, seriously, just ask them. Ask them, I'd love to acknowledge you for the great work you've done. Maybe you shout them out inside the community, which, they should be find out. If it's public, just ask them if that would be a benefit or a problem. Say, I'd just really love to recognize you for the great work you've been doing.
Absolutely.
Sorry to be kind of deadpan on that, but talk to your customers, folks.
So much can be solved by just asking a question. I found the one I thought I was getting to. So Tim asked at the very start, is it possible for somebody to be an evangelist and not be a customer?
Sure, absolutely. There are plenty of brands that you may love that you are not a customer for. Maybe you like their ideology, you like what they stand for, you like the founders, they fit something in your personal, ecosystem that you want to promote, but you're just not a fit for them. Of course.
Yep. And I mean, same story. Your customers are oftentimes interacting with or providing benefits for somebody that is not actually your customer, that you 100%. Are actually facilitating. And so those people very oftentimes are receiving the rewards and benefits from that. And when that's, when that's recognizable for them, absolutely will become an evangelist for you. Mm-hmm. Real quick question on one more. This is probably the last one we have. If we did not get to you, we will follow up with those that we did not get to answer after the event wraps and have an opportunity there. But a question about how do you determine which platform is going to be the best place for that exclusive community to live? So this is one that's really interesting.
Are you talking about if they're talking about the where you're going to put your evangelists in? Yep. If you don't already have a community already, if you're asking what platform to have for your community, we don't start there. We got to start somewhere else in the seed of mission, vision, and values. But for this one, it depends. It depends where you're engaging, where your customers are already using. You want to have a little as friction. I mean, if many of you are in the ecosystem that I live in, are in B2B SaaS, they're going to be on Slack. Create a Slack instance and, go from there. But
yep, 100%. Go where they are. Don't try and drag them someplace else. So go and try and engage where they're at. All right. I think that's about the time that we have left. Leslie, this was amazing. I loved having you on, and great topic that you had.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And thank you all for all your questions. And if they give me the things, I will answer them, and hit me up on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.